One of the concerns that we have in Jamaica and has been, we've heard our Prime Minister talk about the crime situation in Haiti and how untenable that situation is. And one of the concerns is that the so-called gangs in Haiti are going to be able to overtake the capital of Haiti, Port-au-Prince. Now, I understand. I get that Jamaica has a role, probably as the largest, probably most stable, if we could call it that, country in the Caribbean outside that speaks Spanish. That doesn't speak Spanish. I'm sorry. So the prime minister may feel obligated, and Jamaican leaders may feel obligated to do something, or whatever extent they can help. And I know that Jamaica has, excuse me, poured some resources in terms of manpower into Haiti to try to have some modicum of calm and order in that country. And so the Prime Minister, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Wallace, was speaking to the media about that.
I think we're at a phase in Haiti where there has to be a rapid expansion of the Haitian National Police, the HNP, in terms of the manpower and resources, because ultimately the HNP has to take on the gangs. The present holding situation that we have is not necessarily moving the situation forward as we would all like. So there would have to be a significant expansion in resources in support of the HNP to enable them to take on the gangs.
Dr. Holt.
Folks, if you're new to this channel, we ask that you subscribe, and we ask that you share the videos. We ask that you hit the notification bell. Thank you to our longtime subscribers. We say long time. This is a new channel. So we've been on this platform now for 5 months, and we thank you for the 16,000 or so people who have graced us with their faith in us by subscribing to our channel. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. We hope that we can continue to provide content that you will like, as we ask that you continue to support this channel, because we try to do our best to put forward positive information out there, the information that can be of use towards the development of our country. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, as it pertains to our Prime Minister and the situation in Haiti, I am all for us trying to help in Haiti. But we have a raft of issues on our own doorstep. And I understand that we have probably a moral obligation, if not a legal obligation, to be of help to the Haitian people. But Haiti requires a lot more than just more police. In the same way that Jamaica, our Jamaica, requires a whole lot more than more police officers. And to his credit, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has done an admirable job of, as he puts it, renewing the Jamaican police force. I'm actually paraphrasing here now. Creating a force for good. I disagree with that terminology, because the police force that I served in was a force for good and did a hell of a lot of good, and has kept Jamaica safe through several decades since Jamaica's independence. Notwithstanding, the police force needed upgrade, it needed updating, and it needed renewal. One of the reasons why I took an early exit after just 9.5, 10 years was because I didn't feel like the police department was heading in the right. I loved my job. I just didn't like that the police force was that continued to lie in a state of dormancy. So, having said that, I admire the work that the Prime Minister have literally now forced himself to do with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, modernizing the force. I think that's a terminology he used, along with Dr. Chang and the new police commissioner, and the police commissioner Anthony Henderson before, and the new police commissioner Kevin Blake. Now, I was not a fan of a lot of the things they did. I figure a lot of that was lip service. and they kept doing the same old thing and expected a different result. I think some of that has changed. I think that the the renewal has been, some of it has been noticeable. And outside of the more appropriate uniform we see our police officers wearing now, something that I lobbied for and agitated for years. We're thankful for that. We see police officers having uniform. We see renewal of police stations. One of the things that is missing, though, and it probably is the most important part, that the police force in Jamaica needs and must have non-lethal tools. Police officers must have non-lethal tools with which to do their jobs. People talk about, and I even hear the Prime Minister talking about body-worn cameras. Body-worn cameras are necessary, but so are tasers and pepper spray. It is more important to have tasers and pepper spray right now. We needed to have the cops to have these non-lethal tools to aid them in carrying out their functions. And it cannot be overstated how important it is for pepper spray to be issued to every single police officer on going out into the streets to do their job. And it must be the job of the middle managers and the station managers to ensure that young officers going out on the streets, along with the guns, have their batons and their pepper spray. And I've been asking for tasers. Officers need to have tasers. Tasers are not cheap, but nothing's cheap these days. The police need to have tasers, and the Prime Minister keep talking about the entire back end that has to be built out in order to sustain the idea of body-worn cameras. And he's absolutely correct, because most people who were where are the cameras running off their mouths, they have no idea of what it takes. They think it's just you stick a camera on somebody and then it records what's happening and you can just retrieve it. It needs a whole back end in order to reproduce the videos, to edit videos that need to be edited, and to do a whole lot of back end that the chatty mouths don't know about. They have no idea what it is. They just hear something and they run with it. But this is typical Jamaica, right? A lot of opinion, and I have no idea what they're talking about. But we need officers to have tasers. Every day we see our police officers being attacked on the streets, officers being berated on the streets, officers trying to effectuate an arrest, and people fighting them, and women in particular inciting mob violence against our police officers doing their duty. And I want to ask this Jamaican legislature, while you're in the parliament banging on the desk, does any one of you idiots on either side ever look at what's happening on the street and say, hey, let me write a piece of legislation. Let me bring in one of the attorneys and sit down and write a piece of legislation that supports our police? Because you say you reform the force, and you're talking about human rights. Where are the rights of the police officers who are asked to do their jobs? No other job is there in our country where people go out and are actually attacked for doing their job. None. So you ask people to put their very lives on the line, and you have all these rabid dogs, these women who are like rabid dogs, encouraging attack on our officers while they're doing their jobs. And now the men are feeling emboldened too, because Jamaicans for Justice tell them that they can fight the police because the police can't shoot them. If I'm a police officer and I'm doing my job, I have every right to go home unscratched, unscathed, while I execute my duties lawfully. Yeah. And if you put your hand on me when I'm trying to arrest you, you're going to be sorry for many, many, many moons to come. And you could take that to JFJ, and you could take that to Indicom. When I tell you you're under arrest, and I attempt to arrest you, you fight me and you see what would happen to you. This has got to be the attitude of every officer who is out doing their jobs lawfully. The fact is, we have our own problem, and this is what the Prime Minister and this is what this government, including the criminal supporting PNP, need to understand. The criminal supporting PNP need to stop supporting gangsters and criminals and get with the government to put serious legislation on the books to protect our country, our law-abiding citizens, and our police officers. And the judges who cause these people to act that way. Because the laws don't mean anything to these judges. An attack on a police officer is not seen as anything. But if the police officer retaliates over the top, it's the end of the world. First of all, the media, the criminal supporting media, use all kind of terminology to call into question the police reports, the police version of events. But they go out and they listen to these lying women who live off the blood money, these blood-sucking, these crustaceans, these parasites who live in these hoods, in these garrisons, who depend on these men going out and robbing and raping and committing all kinds of crime, including homicide, against innocent Jamaicans, taking what they have and bringing it into them for them to have the blood money to live off. And so when the police comes in and tries to restore order, they are the criminals. Yeah? How long is this going to continue? How long is this parliament going to sit by and allow this to continue? What kind of governance is that? So the Prime Minister is talking about what's happening in Haiti. Bro, look inside your own damn country. Fix that first. Fix that shit first. We have a whole freaking problem happening in there. You talking about criminals reaching Port-au-Prince? They're in your capital. They're in your capital. Take care of your damn business first before you go overseas, Mr. Prime Minister. Worried about what's happening in Haiti. Yep. Worried about what's happening in your own country. One man in St. Mary got 70 bullets as he pulled up at his gate. And I ain't going to speak to the story because I don't know the backstory of that. I'm not talking about what necessitated it. I don't know. What I do know is a man was shot 70 times according to the police. Now, if that does not give anybody pause, it gives me pause. Because what does that tell you? It tells you about the lethality and the determination of these people who are operating in our country. So while we worrying about the next guy, we got a whole problem on our hands that we are ignoring. How long are we going to ask our police officers to go out there and deal with this kind of a thing without giving them the tools? Giving them tasers. But more importantly, giving them laws. What is the reason why the People's National Party refused to sit down with the governing Jamaica Labour Party and come up with legislation that makes it a felony for attacking our police officers when they're doing their jobs? Tell me why, Mark Golden. Tell me why. Peter Dumpting. Tell us why. And I'll tell you why you won't do it. You refuse to do it because you depend on these gangsters in these garrisons, this multiple garrisons that you have, PNP. You depend on these gangsters to turn out the vote. And as long as you can pretend to be champions of the poor, champions of the inner city, where you depend on these people who break the law, who think that the nation's law does not apply to them, and you do it for votes. You do it for votes. And so you have to continue to pay lip service to them. And you have to continue to support forces like JFJ and all the others in our country that are working assiduously against our police officers, working assiduously against the rule of law, working assiduously to turn back the progress in our country on behalf of foreign backers. And you are too stupid to understand. You're too stupid to understand that a country that is inundated with crime has no investment going. No. No development going. None. And when that happens, what happens? Can government employ everybody? Where are you going to get the money from? So you're back to FinSac type governance, right? Where you borrow to pay interest on debt that has accrued on debt. And the next year you do the same thing and you're stacking debt on top of debt on top of debt, and your interest payment is getting more and more and more to the extent that it surpasses your gross domestic product, your GDP. So there's no money to build police stations, for hospitals, for schools, for fire stations, nothing. And so when crime skyrockets, you throw up your hand and say, hey, we need divine intervention for this. No, crime doesn't need divine intervention. Crime needs good governance. It needs governance and people committed to the rule of law. I am tired of hearing Jamaicans talking about running their mouths, open their traps to talk about this tiny nation of Singapore has almost 6 million people. Nation about the size of St. James, or probably smaller than the little parish of St. James. Twice the population of Jamaica. And they're talking about, oh, they came to Jamaica and they adopted our economic model. And they're successful. What you don't talk about is the rule of law in Singapore. Look it up for yourselves. You love to talk about how Singapore adopted Jamaica's model. What model? People have a right to look anywhere they want to look and adopt whatever they want to adopt. So what? So what? We have democracy. Look where it has gotten us. In Singapore, if you pee on the street, you get a flogging, public flogging. If you deface any property with spray paint, penalties, flogging and imprisonment. And don't even question what you get for drug dealing or homicide. So where's their crime rate? Almost non-existent. You could pick any country you want to pick and talk about their economy. But you do not get a stable society that is inundated with crime. So you do the math. You do the math. But there's a huge subset of people in Jamaica that literally hates the rule of law, and we gotta put a stop to that. Everything that the police does is a problem to them, and we have to put a goddamn stop to that. We need rule and regulations in our country, because many of them have traveled abroad. Many of them have traveled abroad, and when they travel abroad, they have to live by the rules and they have to obey the laws. And when they don't, they get sent back home on a one-way flight in shackles. Let's stop with the pretense. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm not saying you shouldn't care about Haiti. I care about Haiti. But here's the reality. We have a situation in our country that needs remediation. We have people fighting our cops And I don't understand why you've been in government for over 8 years now. Why is there no law making it a felony for resisting arrest? Why is there no law making it a felony for inciting riots against law enforcement? Where are the laws? How long are you going to continue to listen to Jamaicans for injustice in our country, telling you what kind of laws you can pass? Who does Jamaicans for Justice serve? Why are we listening to criminal supporters in how we run the damn country? Why are we listening to the worst come in our society telling us how to run our country, how to grow our economy, and what we can do in terms of the laws passed in our country to ensure that we put our country on the right footing and maintain that footing? I don't want it to be harsh. I don't want to be too harsh on you, Mr. Prime Minister. You've done an admirable job of equipping the police, not where it should be, but I know resources are not where they should be either. But the other party, they don't care about crime. They don't care. They have criminals running for parliamentary seats. They're the party of gangs and dons. They don't care. They do not care. They pay lip service. You hear Mark Golden in his budget presentation, which he said wasn't a budget presentation. He talking about policing and investigation that would be whatever judicial review and all kinds of shit. In other words, we're gonna focus on it has to be rights based. It has to be rights based, my ass. We need to change the way we do business in our country if we want to move our country forward. Nobody's suggesting taking away anybody's rights. But you know what? We need to set the rules that everybody knows where they're to line up. Line up. We cannot continue this way. Why are we caring about what happened to gangsters? Why are we caring about people who decide to pick up weapons and go unalive people? Why do we care about their rights? I don't. Why do you care about their rights? What about the rights of the people who are aggrieved, the people who are harmed, the people who are hurt? That's where our focus needs to be. And we need to set the trend. It's not enough to say people behave a certain way, they'll meet a judge or their maker. Give the nation laws that will serve as deterrent. Pass laws that makes it absolutely clear that you mean what you say when you say what you mean. This has been the deep dive. Good night.